And Chile is a very arable land, much of it. Thousands of price controls were stifling business. Every vital industry was in government hands. Productive farms had been seized and redistributed to the poor, typical Marxian program. But the military leaders turned to the free market practices and rescued their nation. By 1980, Chile had risen from the ashes of socialism to become one of the world's most productive and envied nations. The generals even converted the costly and dramatically counterproductive Social Security and healthcare systems into privately run enterprises. Ladies and gentlemen, the money you put into Social Security does not help in any way to fund American enterprise. There are Supreme Court decisions that say it is general taxation. There is no account with your name on it and your money in it that is earning interest. There's no such thing. There never has been any such thing. They talk about the Social Security Trust Fund. It doesn't exist. Anybody who says that is either lying or repeating a lie. It doesn't exist. It never has. From the 1930s when it started. In Chile, they converted it to private enterprise. And so all of that money was going into private hands. And what were they doing? They were investing it in Chilean enterprises and building the economy and building industry in Chile. Reader's Digest reported in June of 1993 that Chile had become so prosperous that its envied neighbors began referring to the nation as El Boom. El Boom! Could that happen in America? Not with the present leadership. So then what should we do? How about better leadership? They now are telling us that federal pension funds are being appropriated by government. And I would guess that there's one or two in this audience who are relying on that, as you have a right to rely on. I've got a section in the book about fakers, phonies, false issues, halfway measures, and so on. We talk about the Concord Coalition headed by Peter G. Peterson, who happens to be the chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations. I got a section about Ross Perot, who wants to change the Constitution, who called Lyndon Johnson's Great Society program a good idea, but the timing was bad. Got a section in there about a lot of other fakers as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are lots of problems. Now let's get to the solution. Chapter 14, the solution. The essence of brilliance is simplicity. And that's in any endeavor whatsoever. Thomas Edison would tell you that. The essence of brilliance is simplicity. And we have a very simple solution to the problems that we face. It's not one that I dreamed up. I couldn't very well call it brilliant if I dreamed it up. In fact, I couldn't dream it up if it's brilliant. So what's the solution? We go right back to the Constitution of this United States of America. We go to Article 1, Section 7, and we read the first sentence that says, all bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. Stop right there. If enough House of Representatives members will not originate a bill to fund foreign aid, the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, the Department of this, the Bureau of that, the Commission of that, this, that, and everything else, unconstitutional, all of them. There's nothing the Senate can do about it. There's nothing the President can do about it. And so the key is in the House of Representatives. There are 435 members, which means that 218 is the majority, and if 218 say no, that's it. No more foreign aid. No more UN money. No more money for NATO. No more this, no more that. Congress holds the key, and it was deliberately designed that way. So how do we get enough congressmen to do that? Well, we start passing out what we call the trim bulletins. The trim bulletins that pass out all over the country, and they report on the congressman's record. Did he vote for higher taxes and more government, or lower taxes and less government? And I have a sample of them along the way here. I have quite a few. I have some good, some bad, some indifferent. Here's a congressman from Missouri, Gephardt. All X's, all high taxes and big government. He's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Here's one from Connecticut, Samuel Gajensen. All high taxes and big government. He's another member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Here's Dan Rostenkowski from Chicago. You've heard of him. He got one good vote. He must have been paid off for that one. I don't know. There are people who say if you vote the way the trim bulletins want you to vote, you can't possibly get reelected. Well, here's Congressman Stump from Arizona, 8 for 8 in the star column. He got reelected. Congressman Crane from Illinois, 8 for 8. He got reelected. Sensenbrenner from Wisconsin, 8 for 8. He got reelected. My golly, it can be done. Now, trim is distributed all across the United States. The same issues. 3 times each year, we choose 8 different issues, and we print them for all 435 congressmen. And there are people all across this country who say, well, thank you, I never knew what he was doing. All I heard was what he said. It's not always the same. It's not always the same. How about, what about locally here? Here we have big trim bulletins. See, these folks around Virginia, they like them big, right? I guess they feel there's bad eyesight here in Virginia or something, right? Here's James Moran, 8th District of Virginia, 8 for 8, right? He ought to be in Massachusetts. Congressman Leslie Byrne, 7 for 8, and well, obviously, if enough of the people in this district get to realize what this congressman is doing, they might say to them, well, maybe we ought to get a different congressman. But Trim won't tell them to do that. Trim doesn't tell you to vote for this one or vote against that one. It just puts out the facts. You might find people who want more taxes and bigger government, and they'll be delighted to have this record of Mr. Moran. Ladies and gentlemen, it works. The people wake up. They begin to choose. Here's the record. This was late in 1992. Congresswoman Joan Kelly Horn in Missouri. 7 out of 8, high taxes and big government. They distributed, I don't know, a couple of 100,000 as far as I know, but plenty. In that district, she's no longer the representative. The new congressman is James Talent, and look at his trim bulletin. It works. It works. It works so well that a few years ago, a couple of left-wing congressmen up in the New York City area petitioned the Federal Election Commission to go after Trim for political activity and not registering with the federal government. And we had to defend ourselves in federal court. It cost a huge fortune to do so, to hire the lawyers and so forth. Well, we did it. And it went to a 9-judge federal panel in New York City. And they voted unanimously in our favor. And they said that the actions of the Federal Election Commission were somewhat perverse. It was a huge victory for freedom of speech. Up in Iowa, last election, there was a case where Iowa had lost population or didn't grow as much as others, so they lost one of the seats in Congress, and that pitted 2 congressmen against each other for 1 seat. A Democrat, lefty Democrat, big government man, and a conservative Republican. And so the people in the district raised some money, and they printed the 2 trim bulletins side by side in the local newspaper. Guess who won? The Republican conservative is still in Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, it can be done. And this program is burgeoning and growing all across the United States. We've really geared it up. We've put a lot of emphasis behind it. We've got tremendous numbers of people involved in this who aren't even members of the Birch Society. Yet. They like it. They see it. It works. It can be done. It must be done. If you value your freedom, here's a way to retain it for yourself, for your children, for generations yet to come. The Trim Committee program can do it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're up against a conspiracy, powerfully entrenched conspiracy. The media, the government, the foundations, the corporate world, lots of places where these people are dictating their will. And you might say to yourself, it's hopeless. Well, I want to try to persuade you just the opposite. I want to give you 5 reasons for hope